Hey everyone, it's me, Grayson, and this is the first edition, probably the last, of Grayson Reacts to Overrated and Underrated.
Overrated or underrated, what does Gary think?
Ben, could you just come and rip off this tune for me, please?
Overrated and underrated, what does Grayson think?
That's it. This is the bit where D-Rock has like some banter with Gary. If you want to, you're not going to talk. You're just going to shrug your shoulders. Do you even have a cute name? Like D-Rock? Lame. Let's just do it.
PSA.
For everybody's watching this, PSA is the grading company. They grade cards on a 10-point scale. The group that just bought PSA is some professional-ass motherfuckers. And I'm a big fan, as you know. I'm betting on the jockey over the horse. And so I think it's underrated because I think there's new leadership that will make it stronger, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Betting on the jockey and not the horse. Gary, I agree. This is underrated. PSA going to be in a position to either develop or acquire the digital grading landscape. 100%.
eBay.
Underrated. eBay is the fucking industry. It's the data.
Underrated. Get this all the time. The fees. It's the trading platform. Go to market. Spend 15% of what you're going to sell on Google Ads, and you tell me if you get the same amount of eyeballs.
Michael Jordan PSA 10, 1986.
The most underrated card.
Michael Jordan rookie. Could have bought heaps of these. $10,000, $20,000 mark. Huge mistake. This card's going to be big. Totally agree. It's going to go to the moon at some point. If you see it in a 10, buy it.
1979
OPG. I think it's grossly underpriced. He's the greatest hockey player of all time.
Hockey, the prices just aren't there. No one buys it. Why? It's all undervalued. All the big names. So yeah, it's underrated.
2003 Mega Crackhead Cristiano Ronaldo.
Underrated. It's one of the 10 best proper football players of all time.
Disagree. Properly rated. Ronaldo's, he's older than me. He hasn't won a cup. He's properly rated.
2003 Top Chrome LeBron James.
Grossly underrated. I have 53 of them. That card's going to the moon.
It's going to the moon. This guy. Player's underrated. The card's underrated. It's hard to grade.
2019 Panini Prism Zion Williams.
Overrated. Like, these guys have to go on to become one of the 15 best players of all time to make these numbers work. I just think there's way too much risk. There's so many places to spend $700 better. One of the underrated places is that 90s era. There's some cheap good deals there compared to these youngsters.
This card is properly rated. I think could be underrated. He's in second gear still. I think it just continues to be the card that collectors want. You can't bust wax for it anymore. You have to sell a house. Properly rated. I'm leaning towards underrated though.
2017 Prism Patrick Mahomes.
I own none of those, regrettably. I think it's underpriced. I think Patrick Mahomes, barring injury, becomes one of the best quarterbacks, if not top 3 quarterbacks of all time.
I believe in Mahomes. I don't believe in the Chiefs. I think the pieces to his puzzle are going to fall away from him. The type of quarterback that he is, I think that is going to make things a lot more difficult. I think Allen's a better investment than Mahomes. I think you're paying basketball card prices for an NFL card with Mahomes. I think he's properly rated.
2001 Upper Deck Tiger Woods.
I have 100 BGS 9.5s. I think it's overrated. I think super long term it can work out if he gets weirdly hot again and wins a couple more majors, but I'm going to go with overrated.
The Tiger Woods card's overrated. He was looking to cement GOAT. He's arguably fallen short. He's my GOAT. I think that card is overrated.
2018 Top Update Juan Soto.
I have 25 of those, I think, at this point.
I know nothing about baseball cards, so we'll just keep going.
With under
2013 Top Bloodline Conor McGregor Auto.
underpriced. I bought 2 of those UFC Conors recently. I think UFC's a place to go.
I think UFC's a place to go. I blinked and I missed Conor McGregor. Was he good? He wasn't GSP good. I'd be putting my money elsewhere for UFC.
Because I think European proper football culture continues to matter. I think stickers are sneaky. Underrated.
Yeah, Snickers might be sneaky. I think they're properly rated. I think that as the card market grows in popularity around them, that will dwarf the stickers. So I think they're properly rated.
Prism Kylan Mbappe.
Mbappe I have none, but I have like 10 or 15 of the stickers. I think that's grossly overrated. I think soccer stickers is the culture and will be the culture.
Wrong. Gary thinks Mbappe is overrated. It's not. That card, despite the fact it's going to have a high pop because they produce so much of the Prism World Cup, this guy has won a World Cup. He's going to win more. He is the Michael Jordan of soccer. This card is going to the moon.
Wrestling cards.
Grossly underrated. If wrestling has like 16 to 25 people in the wrestling community get hardcore about cards, that's a big ecosystem of diehards. I think wrestling is actually very underpriced.
Yeah, he's right. Wrestling is huge. Wrestling has kind of always just been simmering. Rookie stuff. The cards are cool. The characters are cool. It stands to reason that they're underrated and they will pop.
Marvel cards, I have like 6 random weird things I bought, but I think I'm about to start doing some real investigation. I think in general, DC and Marvel comic book cards can have a moment under.
Yeah, I agree they're underrated. I don't see them taking off. They're not going to the moon. The characters don't really change in value at all, so it doesn't fit the same model that we do with sports cards. That being said, there's some sets that are really short printed. The Marvel Gems set is amazing. Only 25 of the set in the world, which is kind of cool. I agree. They're underrated.
All cards.
I'm gonna go with slightly underrated. I think all cards, garbage.
No.
Kaboom insert.
Underrated. Kaboom is an insert that's extremely rare. They've got the comic book element, they've got the supply and demand element, they've got the heat on the street. As people get educated about Kaboom, I think that's the one.
So Kaboom is one of the rare instances where an insert that Panini has developed is the same across the different genres. So it's as rare in basketball as it is in football. That changes with a lot of the inserts. The early sets have got some really cool versions of Kobe's and LeBron's, which assist them.
1961 clear Oscar Robertson.
I own probably about 9 or 10 of these. The top 50 players in the NBA in history are collectively underpriced, and the Oscar 61 is one of those cards.
The 61 set is, in my opinion, the best set of all time. So it stands to reason that card continues to go up in value. Gary rightly says all of those vintage and those top players do.
Big top Chrome Dwayne Wade.
I own probably 4 or 5 of these. I think Dwayne Wade's underpriced because of what I think he's up to post-career.
Dwayne Wade is a leader. He was the Robin. LeBron was the Batman. That held his values down. We're starting to see some of them perk up. Gary's right.
Alternative rookies.
Alternative rookies are grossly underrated.
All it needs is demand. That's right. They're underrated. It continues to grow at a much slower rate than the true rookies. People are going to reach around for them as they can't get hold of those true rookies.
Luka base Prism PSA 10.
I think I have 183 of those. I'm going to go with properly rated because even though long term I think it could be overrated, he just might end up being so good that 25,000 is not enough against the supply, against the demand.
I agree. Card is properly rated. That it is properly rated, as you'd expect with the current market, and the potential to be underrated.
Luka's mother's autograph.
This is like a rumor that goes around that Luka's mom signed his cards his rookie year, not him. So I don't have really a lot of info, but it's an underrated story.
It is an underrated story.
Card fun.
Or underrated. I don't think people understand the financial impact of $400 million coming into the market trying to get the top 10% of stuff.
There's great opportunities, and you're seeing some companies take huge advantage of being leaders in that space. So congratulations to them.
The bubble.
The bubble's underrated. You should always be worried you're in a bubble. Every card I own, I may pretend I go to 0. Don't underestimate the bubble because that shit will pop on your face.
I don't know. I think everything's a bubble in life, so I treat everything like that. The reality is that if you're buying Bol rookies for the same price as Shaquille O'Neal rookies, the bubble is not what you need to be worried about.
Card values in 2026.
Underrated in the super premium, low pop, vintage, or 3-4 best players, the Trouts and the LeBrons of their generation. Overrated on a lot of this thing that I'm trying to explain to people. There's a lot of speculating going on.
Card values in 2026, spot on. Overrated with all the speculation. But that stands to reason. There's so many more people into this market. Heaps of people can't afford to go into that top end of the market, so they have to speculate. That drives the values up of that lower stuff. People need 2 or 3 years to work out that, hey, wow, Dennis Smith Jr. isn't going to be that guy. As for the other stuff, for the high end, it just keeps going up.
Aggressively overrated, and I'm going to use this opportunity to make a bigger point. I think the biggest vulnerability in sports cards right now is rookie chasing.
I completely agree. I had this exact same conversation all the time with people. There is 1 to 2 rookies in every class at most that become like hobby interesting. Even when it was Wade, Melo, and LeBron, really only LeBron came out of that. You're only getting 1, maximum 2. Can't go past Ja. After Ja, it's done. After Trey, it's done. Like this thing which I call the Michael Porter Jr. phenomenon. Guys like Michael Porter Jr. sell high, having done nothing, or higher than Klay Thompson, who sells much lower than that. And it makes no sense whatsoever. It's what the market likes to do. It is the Michael Porter Jr. phenomenon. There's a bigger point to all this. Gary is 100% about picks and shovels. So everything he does, he takes back to its absolute foundation, the largest part of the arrowhead. So he's always been pushing the market towards these lower entry point base rookies. And I think that when you try and compare those against ultra modern, against even modern or vintage, it doesn't line up because the populations are too shallow on those because grading was not such a thing. So I think when you look at this ultra modern market, you have to look at the short prints and the variations and the OG ones. So when you look at Prism, you want to look at the orange Prisms because they're in each run. When you look at Optic, look for the hollows, or when you look for the choice dragons. So I think that comparing ultra modern with modern or even vintage, it just doesn't line up. Is G underrated or overrated? Obviously, me, Grayson_Cherryboss, obviously, like no one knows who G is. I had to explain it. So clearly G is underrated. Gary V's hair? What are we talking about here? Gary has the same challenges that I do with hair. So like, well, it would be like, I don't know, Geno Smith hair, and it's performing like one of those old Eddie Murphy fatsuit characters. That's the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it.